Welcome back to The Gap, the podcast where we tackle one of the biggest challenges in America today, closing the retirement savings and coverage gaps, while also shining a light on what's actually working in our system. I'm Shannon Edwards, your host and president of TriStar Pension Consulting. I would like to welcome all listeners to our podcast with a special welcome to those listening for the first time. Today's guest is someone who holds a very special place in the history of The Gap because he was my very first guest when we launched the podcast. Will Hansen is the Chief Government Affairs Officer for the American Retirement Association and the Executive Director of the Plan Sponsor Council of America, better known as PSCA. In those roles, Will works with policymakers, retirement industry professionals, and most importantly for today's conversation, the employers and committee members who are responsible for overseeing workplace retirement plans. Will brings an interesting perspective to this work because he has seen employee benefit plans from almost every angle. He's worked as an employee benefits attorney, served on Capitol Hill, managed employee benefit plans for a large employer, and advocated for retirement policy on behalf of employers and retirement plan community. He understands what the rules say, but he also understands what it feels like to be the person responsible for putting those rules into practice. When Will joined me for our very first episode, we talked about the retirement savings and coverage gaps, the important role workplace retirement plans play in helping Americans save, and the work being done in Washington to expand access to those plans. Today, we are continuing that conversation, but looking at it from a very practical plan sponsor perspective. Offering a retirement plan is an incredibly meaningful benefit. It also is a big responsibility. Plan sponsors and committee members are expected to understand complicated rules, fulfill their fiduciary duties, work with multiple service providers, document their decisions, prepare for meetings, follow up on action items, and somehow keep track of years and years of information. And for many of them, overseeing the retirement plan is only one small part of an already very full job. That is why I wanted to invite Will back to talk about the challenges PSCA is hearing from plan sponsors, the resources available to help them, and a new technology called NOAA, powered by PSCA, that is designed to bring plan governance, documents, collaboration, and institutional knowledge together in one place. Will, I am so excited to welcome you back to The Gap.
Thank you, Shannon. Happy to be back. I guess I did okay on the first episode if I got
You,
a,
you
a
did
second go.
great.
All
Yes,
right.
you did great. Will, for listeners who are new to the podcast, how did benefits law and Capitol Hill lead you to ARA and PSCA?
Benefits law was my first job ever. I went straight through college and law school, and I fell in love with the benefits community, and that's what really started the career path. The Capitol Hill experience was amazing, just to be able to actually learn more about the legislative process and figure out how policy actually takes shape. And then, when I took that break from Capitol Hill, from living in Washington, D.C., and I moved to the West Coast and I was a plan sponsor, I could tell, that that was not my long-term career path. But it was probably one of the best decisions I made because I think that's, was a nice break, led me back to DC, where I was then became a lobbyist on behalf of plan sponsors and others. And being able to say, hey, I've been in those shoes of the plan sponsor, I think goes a long ways when it comes to advocating for, the right policies and advancing our retirement system in America.
Awesome. Which experience most shaped your view or how you view fiduciary responsibility?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I would actually say my first ever committee meeting as a plan sponsor. So I definitely sat in a few committee meetings when I was an associate attorney at a law firm, but the partner typically handled most of them. So I don't have like a lot of, memories, I guess, of those days, but definitely the first day when I sat there and kind of recognize the various members of the committee and their experience or lack of experience and the roles they play at the company, including the CEO, the president of the company who sat on the committee for the 401(k) plan that I was working on. And I think it just kind of shined a light on how important the fiduciary process is, but also that there are a lot of people who maybe don't recognize or have the experience necessary to make the decisions. That's why it's important to bring in, the consultants, the TPAs, the advisors, the record keepers to, be those partners for the retirement plan.
When did you first see that plan sponsors had a governance technology problem?
Day one. I mean, I was a plan sponsor from 2013 to 2016. So I'd say 2013 was kind of the era of share drives starting to become more prevalent in corporate America, but also prevalent were paper. I mean, paper copies of things. So it was, kind of in that middle period of where I think a lot of companies were trying to digitize
Mhm.
and trying to figure out their electronic storage capabilities moving forward. This is, I mean, well before AI was, obviously we knew anything about it. Um, and we struggled because, with respect to our plan had been around for a few decades, but then we also had some pension plans that were from the, 1960s and
Mm.
70s with, active beneficiaries still alive. And, for a larger company that I work for, immediately I could tell that, we need to start to figure out something right away in order to, make sure that we have an efficient process in place moving forward.
Um, what were PSCA members telling you that led to the NOAA partnership?
Yeah, so for background, the NOAA partnership started a couple years ago, and we launched NOAA powered by PSCA, earlier this year. It is a an AI powered plan governance solution. But I think what we were learning from plan sponsors was twofold. One, they needed to be able to tap into the AI revolution, into technology to find more efficiencies in how they do their job. But also, and one of the main reasons why, PSCA entered into this partnership was education. We needed to figure out a different way to distribute the education and make sure our plan sponsors were staying on top of their fiduciary, duties through the education products that we provide. And so, NOAA is not only just a plan governance solution, it's also just a way to continue to ensure that our plan sponsors and others are staying on top of their fiduciary duties through us updating our education and distributing it through the NOAA platform
Okay. What do you think the best run retirement committees consistently do well?
process. Next question. No, kidding. So, um, yeah, it's all about process. And you need to have somebody who is really intent on ensuring that the entire committee is sticking to all of the various procedures that go with administering a 401(k) plan. And by having a very stringent process that you follow is going to make just life easier on everyone involved with administering the retirement plan.
Where do you think the industry can simplify without lowering fiduciary standards?
Simplify is through better using technology. And there are a lot of solutions that are out there. And that is really, I think, step one is first and foremost is having your documents, organized.
Hmm.
And there are plenty of tools out there that will help you. And then from there, it really just depends on how much you want, how many more bells and whistles that you want to make your life, just easier when it comes to administering the plan.
What do you think the biggest compliance headache for plan sponsors is today?
Uh, I mean, the easy answer to that is just because we so PSCA we teach a certified plan sponsor professional credential course and the I guess at a very high level when I'm teaching that course is the compliance headache is anything technical, anything that you can't find in the SPD and you need to use the plan document. So and you'll know this, Shannon, it's the definition of compensation
Uh-huh.
and how the
Yes.
definition of compensation is used. Uh, and then that then goes to, I think, for any non-safe harbor plans, how they go about doing their testing, and then if they fail, how they go about rectifying their failure. I mean, that's probably the biggest compliance headache. And all that goes back to, though, is the plan document and
Yeah.
being able to understand and utilize the plan document. And that's then kind of where I mentioned bells and whistles. Yeah, you can have a great storage system, but then now with AI, do you have a great system or technology or platform that can help you analyze your plan documents
Mhm.
much easier? And that's where I think plan sponsors should start to look at NOAA and others that are out there.
Yeah, I think, you said compensation. I think that's the biggest mistake we see all the time. I'm constantly clients are saying, "Oh, well, we didn't withhold deferrals from bonuses because bonuses aren't included in their compensation." I'm like, but that's wrong.
Yeah.
It is the most widely misunderstood thing when it comes to the plan document. And that's where all the numbers come from, right? So if compensation's wrong, everything else is wrong. So,
Yeah, and that's where and we got a lot more to talk about today, but
yeah.
being able to, you know, input into whatever platform you're using, some of your process documents, your plan
Hmm.
documents, some of your payroll processes, maybe some notes and conversations that you've had with your payroll team or with your TPA, and then use that, to have AI analyze and be like, oh, does gift card
Hmm.
included in, XYZ definition of compensation or something. Or when we pay out PTO, I think it will just make everyone's life a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. Which fiduciary responsibility do you think is most often misunderstood?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. Most often misunderstood. I think, and again, this is at a very, high level. I think most fiduciaries think that they need to get everything 100% correct
Hmm.
when it comes to the decisions that they make about the plan, whether it's, the investment fund lineup or the plan design. And that's just not true. Like, we are humans. We never get anything, 100% correct. But what this goes back to my earlier response where I said process. But if you do have a process in place when it comes to making decisions regarding the plan, and you follow that process, and you're able to prove that process if you're ever audited by a government agency or sued by a class, a plan sponsor, a class of participants,
Hmm.
you should hopefully be in a safe spot because you have that process in place.
And where do you think documentation gaps usually start?
The day they started the plan. Is,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think where there's documentation gaps that could easily be rectified with technology is right now really is on any time there's a change in your committee
Mm,
because change in committee involves a lot. There's knowledge gaps, there's historical decisions that have been made about the plan that these new committee members get up to speed, but that's potentially probably where, nowadays you can start to see, a lot of gaps that are out there. Otherwise, I can probably list off, and you could too, probably, 20, 30, 40, 50 different scenarios where you've seen, documentation gaps.
yeah. I mean, even just for us, it's how hard it is to get a copy of their PPA document when I mean it's like, okay, great, you gave me the document you're currently on, but do you have a copy of the last document so I can look at that too? And a lot of plan sponsors are like, oh, am I supposed to keep that forever?
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to EGTRA.
Right, right.
Yeah, I guess it would be EGTRA, GUS, PPA. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's still important to probably have a digital copy at this point,
Right.
of all of those amendments, because for the most part, a lot, I don't have the stat offhand, but I would say more than half, or maybe three-quarters of active 401k plans have been around for
Yeah.
you know, the late 90s when a lot of those amendments were implemented,
Yeah.
starting with Gus Degtra, I guess, and then early 2000s on PPA. So yeah, and now we're gonna have Secure too.
Yes. Yes. Love those tack-on amendments.
Yeah.
When does a shared drive become a governance risk?
A shared drive becomes a governance risk, I think, when you have too many people that have access and control into that shared drive. Um, because then you just there's a lot of scenarios where, documents could be altered or documents
Mm,
could be deleted, if you don't have the right, controls, I guess, in place with, how you go about altering or deleting or archiving, certain, documents. So, shared drives are, as of right now, mostly are used probably across the board by a lot of folks. So hopefully, folks do have a decent process, in place. But with that said, I think now with the, increased usage of AI and, just more technology out there, there are other ways to kind of go about ensuring that, you have the right controls in place with respect to your documents.
And what happens when institutional memory walks out the door?
Yeah, I mean, so, there's, I think people in HR tend to, especially those at the more senior levels who are at the director levels, or senior manager levels, they tend to be there for a long time.
Hmm.
And when they leave because they retire, hopefully, or when they take a job elsewhere, there is a lot of knowledge that walks out the door. And by that, I'm not it's not just you know the, knowledge that's in that person's brain, but it's also the conversations that were on their, emails, or their team
Mm,
Slack. Or the phone calls with the CHRO, or the information on where certain files are, maybe still on paper, in a cabinet drawer, somewhere. And so it's, important to, when you're considering technology and looking at technological solutions, you really need a system that houses everything,
mm,
related to your, retirement plan, in one singular place, where you are then not losing that, knowledge when it walks out the door, because it's going to walk out the door.
right.
In some form or fashion, like institutional knowledge is going to creep out. It's gonna leak out, just like we have leakage in plans.
Right.
So yeah.
How do multiple providers and disconnected systems complicate oversight?
Well, I mean, present day, or, let's say a few years ago when we didn't have as much, technology out there, if it's, in order to really satisfy your fiduciary duty, you do need to have, consultants,
Hmm.
whether it's, bundled or not, you got to have, a bunch of folks helping you out. And with the more cooks in the kitchen, the more conversations that are happening, whether you know it or not, the more emails that are, happening, whether you know it or not. And so everything is still kind of disconnected. And
Hmm.
so kind of going back to what I said from the last question, is you need to break down the silos, and you need to have, one unified kind of system, that really tracks all conversations, that are happening, all decisions, all deliberations, all in one place.
Do you think that simpler governance would make more employers willing to offer retirement plans?
Oh, most definitely. I think, and I think without putting technology aside, I think we can just look at the success of PEPs. And that, one of the biggest advantages to PEPs besides cost or lower cost, hopefully, is less compliance burden, on the plan sponsor. But yes, I do think even if it is, a individually designed plan, the simpler or I guess more efficient way to manage that plan, the more likely a company will offer a plan.
So now to the fun stuff.
Oh, that wasn't fun. I thought we
That
were
was fun. No, this is
gonna...
more fun though. This is what I'm really excited about. Because I've seen it and it's really cool. So give us an explanation about what NOAA, powered by PSCA, is.
And I've kind of talked about it a little bit, hopefully here. It's a single system. So it is one place. It's one solution that houses all documents, decisions, deliberations regarding your defined contribution retirement plan. We do go beyond defined contribution plans, so your 401k or 403b. We also have capabilities for pension, HSA, non-qualified health and welfare. But that's it in a nutshell. The core features of it are a document storage system, but I always say it's a document storage system on steroids. It has the built-in compliance dates associated with any document that does have a compliance date associated with it, whether that's through regulations or law.
Hmm.
So it kind of reminds you like, hey, your, revised SPD is coming up due on, July 31st, 2027. And so it kind of keeps you on track, with respect to that. And then it also has a collaboration space. So this is where you break down those silos. So when you purchase NOAA, become a NOAA client, it isn't meant to, but it can be. It isn't meant to just be for your HR team. It is meant for you to really invite your TPA, your advisor, your record keeper, any other consultants to have access to certain parts of the system, the
Hmm.
solution, so that they are involved. They are involved in the conversations. They're already involved in the conversations in person or via email. So it's basically taking all those conversations that are happening in person or via email and making sure that they are on the NOAA platform. So the collaboration space is where you have your conversations about Secure 2.0. You have conversations with your auditor about the Form 5500 for the year, whatever conversation you want. And then the last core feature is the meeting agenda creation. So you create a meeting agenda, you have your template that you then use for all future meetings. This is where you house all of your meeting agenda packs. So those 50 to 400 page, documents that you use on a hopefully quarterly basis. If you're meeting quarterly, which is the best practice, sometimes twice a year, it's great too. So yeah, it's those are kind of the three core features, and then wrapped around all of that is a query function. So that's where the AI kicks in, and now you can query anything or whatever. You can ask simple questions about if you just can't remember the eligibility provisions to harder questions where you can say, hey, what have been the major changes to this plan in over the last 5 years? And it will give you a nice little
Mm.
summary of it all. That's a great solution or trick for like if you're onboarding a new committee member. You're now able to like give the committee member access and they can now have all the historical documents in front of them, which they're not going to go through, but they can use the query
Hmm.
functionality to at least ask questions. So those are the core features. And then the other features we're developing are a benchmarking solution so that just by loading in your Form 5500 into the system and your SPD, you have enough information in there where it can then benchmark the plan design information that can be extracted from those documents against PSCA's annual survey. So PSCA has our annual
Hmm.
survey of defined contribution plans. We also have an annual survey of 403b plans. So it's able to do a benchmarking right away. And then the other one I think is really very much important is fiduciary training. Um,
Mm.
we can admit fiduciary training is boring, so we've
Yes.
gamified it. We basically have taken our education materials, gamified it, made it fun, given a scoreboard associated with it. And then because your committee members hopefully have access to all that, it now tracks that fiduciary training has been done by your committee members, your HR team, and it's all just housed right there in a singular system there. So there you go, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Okay. Well, actually, that took care of the next question too, was how do Smart Vault collaboration space and meeting flow work together? But I think you've kind of told us that, where they can query it. And I'm assuming when they query it, it goes through all of those things to answer their questions.
It's up to you. So you have the capability of kind of setting, hey, I want you to look just at the vault, or I want you to look at everything across the entire workspace. Or if you're in a specific collaboration space, you can just say, hey, just want to know within this collaboration space, summarize this conversation.
Mm,
And I failed to mention on the collaboration space, there's also capabilities to hold votes. So you can set like within a conversation, like, hey, let's take a vote on this. So you're like tracking again the decisions. It can do signatures as well. So you can like upload a PDF and say, hey, I want a signature here by, Jane Doe. So that again is tracking signatures on documents as well. So kind of further building out that deliberative process that's there. So, but yeah, that's kind of, it's all on the same system. It all works together seamlessly, which is really great. I think one of the biggest barriers right now is a lot of folks in HR think, oh, this is like another system and it's going to take forever to upload and I just or to implement and I just don't have that time.
hmm
And it's for this, it's actually like once you like sign the contract, become a client, you are have your onboarding. Um, and then within 5 minutes, you could upload 5 documents and start using it. It's like a drag and drop kind of type feature where, it's one of the simplest, probably new tools to be able to use in your HR toolkit.
Tell me something. I mean, we've talked about email and stuff too. So like what happens if one of those conversations takes place in email versus the collaboration space? How does that information get into NOAA so that the conversation is documented when it was outside of NOAA?
Yeah, and we know that, with any new system, it's really hard. We love email and so it's very hard to break that habit of just sending an email or sending a Teams message or something like that. So with email in particular, two things. One is let's say you're having a conversation with your advisor, and there are circumstances where your advisor may say, hey, I have to do this conversation by email and
hmm
only email because of compliance, purpose for compliance reasons. Once that conversation is done, or maybe it's just at a point where you want to make sure it's documented, you can forward it to an email that is provided to you by the NOAA team. So it's dropped right into one of the collaboration spaces. Or if you're using Outlook, we have an add-in where right on your Outlook, you can just, with a few clicks, have it dropped right into a collaboration space as well. So it's pretty easy. You can forward documents, documents straight to the vault, documents straight to a collaboration space. So it's very simple to ensure that everything that's ongoing with respect to the plan, conversations, documents, whatnot, if it's happening outside of the NOAA platform, can easily be inserted into the NOAA platform.
Excellent. So we've talked a lot about committee meetings and walk us through a committee meeting from preparation to minutes to follow up. What does a good committee meeting look like?
Yeah. So the let's assume that they've already done one or two committee meetings on the NOAA platform, and let's assume that their record keeper and their advisor and their TPA, and let's say their auditor, all have access to NOAA as well. In the meeting agenda feature of NOAA, let's say the director of benefits is in there. He or she is taking the lead on creating the agenda. They're going to start the draft agenda. They're probably working off of a template that's already been used from a prior agenda. They're then going to send out the draft link to the advisor, TPA, record keeper, auditor, let's say, to give them access to say, hey, can you please, make some edits and build out this agenda, with me. So let's say it's the advisor's quarterly investment review. The advisor would be able to log in. They would be able to add in like a summary, maybe of like their 30 minutes that they have scheduled to do the quarterly investment review. They can attach a PDF maybe of the quarterly investment review as well. And same thing goes for whoever else is on that agenda. Then, if it's the TPA has a section, or if the auditor has a section, the record keeper doing their quarterly update. And once that agenda is then set, everyone's on board. It's then published. So you send it out to everyone that's attending that committee. Everyone hopefully has access to NOAA. So they then have a link. They click on that link, and they now have the meeting agenda nicely organized for them, either online on the platform, or they could export it as a PDF to be able to just look through it that way. And then the query functionality is still there as well too. So with that meeting pack for that specific quarterly meeting, let's say the VP of sales who sits on the committee who knows nothing about 401(k) plans, only cares about the investment review and wants to know, hey, are any funds on the watch list? That's all they care about. They can just easily query like, hey, any funds on the watch list, and get their answer within seconds instead of having to like flip through all that. But once that meeting pack is published, then the meeting's not run through NOAA,
Hmm.
from a virtual standpoint. So like you still have your meeting on Zoom or Teams or in person, and then you can just share screen the NOAA platform and walk through the agenda, that way. Everyone else can have who probably has their laptops up, would be looking through the NOAA meeting pack agenda as well. If questions come up, let's say, as they're going through the quarterly investment fund review, and, the advisor, brushes over the target date fund, because, everything is fine. But let's say the CFO is like, hey, when is the last time we talked about the target date funds in depth? You know, Put that into the query functionality in NOAA, and within seconds, you now know, when is the last time you
Mm.
had that. Otherwise, something that would take, a really long time to happen. So, yeah, there you go. That's a good overview of it.
Excellent, excellent. How does NoAQ separate sourced plan records from PSCA guidance without replacing fiduciary judgment?
Yeah. So, really, the NOAA platform has all the documents in there. And so when the AI hopefully has all your plan documents in there. When the AI, when you're asking a question, I'm sorry, of NOAA Q, it then says, and Shannon, we have to pause, but my guest star is being annoying right now. This is
No worries.
I told Shannon like the dog is going to be really super annoying today because I screwed up
Well, the dog can join us.
No, it was just his toy that keeps him busy decided to fall into a crevice that he could not get to. There we go. Let's spice things up on the gap here.
Hey, it's
Um,
great.
when you ask it a question, any question, it's going to say give you an answer based off the plan documents, and then it's going to give you more from PSCA knowledge.
Mm,
And the more from PSCA knowledge is the AI is now tapping into the some of the educational materials that the Plan Sponsor Council of America has. And so let's say you're asking a question about vesting provisions in the plan. It will give you the plan document response of what your actual vesting provisions are. And then it will give you more information just about vesting provisions broadly. And
mm.
it's pulling it back from there. I think it's a key point too, because if you think that, let's say, and I'll use you, Shannon, as an example. I'll ask a question back. Do you think your clients are using AI right now when it comes to their 401(k) plan?
I think that some of them are,
Yeah,
yes. I do think that some of them are. They're probably feeding their plan document into Chat GPT and asking questions about it. It wouldn't surprise me.
yeah. And ChatGPT or Claude or insert any of them, those are, I guess they're trustworthy to a certain extent, but they're going to make mistakes.
Right.
And so when it comes to, I think, retirement plan administration, it is important, I think, for us on the provider side, at least, to recognize that, hey, we probably need to ensure that, if they're using AI, they're using a trusted, an AI that has
Hmm.
trusted sources. And so we ensure that, like, when you are asking a question, it's not going out to Google, it's not going out to ChatGPT. It is answering that question only based off of your plan documents with no, additional information
Hmm.
or
Yeah,
analysis. And then it's only providing you more knowledge from PSCA material. Again, not going out to the Google
right.
to pull in additional, information. So it is something I think that, providers need to think about a little bit more to ensure that their clients are getting the best resources and are using the most trusted resources.
Yeah, I agree. How did the risk register, action tracker, compliance calendar, and training log improve follow through?
Yeah, so that's more on the provider side.
Hmm.
So these are new tools that we're testing out. And AI is freaking amazing out there. It's just kind of crazy, like all of the
Yeah.
advances recently. But the action tracker, as an example, I'll hone in on that one. We're developing it in a way that, once you load in meeting minutes, which, by the way, we also do have meeting minute capabilities as well. So if you record your meeting, you can have meeting minutes created on Noah.
Okay.
Either way, once your meeting minutes are finalized and hopefully you load them into Noah, it will then, the action tracker will analyze the meeting minutes and then automatically create the actions that were agreed upon, through that most recent meeting. So it's not manual, it's automated. It will assign, who it goes to. Just go through, confirm, check, and just kind of keeps it's the goal here with Noah is really to eliminate anything that's sticky, any
Hmm.
process that is manual, but because of technology, just doesn't need to be, manual. It still gives you the ability to like make alterations or changes, but it is going to automate as much as possible. So that is an example of kind of what the action tracker is meant to do.
Very nice. Very nice. And so I want to switch gears for 1 second because I know too that NOAA can be used by financial advisors. So how can financial advisors oversee a lot of clients' plans without creating another technology silo?
Yeah, so for advisors or anyone that has multiple clients, we have it one first off, just when you log in, let's say you have 10 plans associated with your email, your login. On the menu bar, you're going to see all 10 plans. Each plan has its separate own space. You are able to just drop into each space. When you're asking or querying any questions about that plan, it's only going to be looking at that plan. So it's like it has its own separate space, easy for you to pop in and out. But then in addition to that, we've created something that we call NOAA Pulse, which is a consolidated view of all of your plans. So if
Mm,
you are a provider and you purchase, a bulk license or an enterprise license of NOAA powered by PSCA, let's say you purchase 100 licenses, we'll then give you the ability to kind of create 20 different fields that summarize, what you want to see on that consolidated view. So let's say it's, 10 financial fields that cover, fund fee lineup or fund fees, or maybe your own, annual fee that you have for that client. And then let's say the other 10 are design based. So does the plan have, auto enrollment?
mm,
you know, as long as there is a document that provides that field in NOAA, it's all automated. So that you're now seeing everything kind of across on one view of all of your plans. And then when you're in that space, you can then use NOAA Q to query across all of your plans as well. So you can ask, which of my plans have auto enrollment and more than $50 million in assets if you want. You come up with a question, as long as the information's there, you're going to get the answer.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What does onboarding look like, especially when there's like years of files scattered across people and providers, no telling
Yeah.
where?
Yeah, and I kind of, going back earlier, I said kind of onboarding's easy. It really does depend though on like what's your current document storage, document organizational system in
Hmm.
place right now. So if you have everything kind of in files, on a shared drive or whatnot, it is as simple as just dragging and dropping all those documents into the document vault. So we first start off with the vault. The vault's meant to just be your compliance document. So it is meant to be
Mm.
about, anywhere between probably 10 and 20 of your core compliance documents associated with your plan. You have those all as well as historical, versions of them that you want archived. You can, drag and drop. And if it's, let's say 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 documents, you drag and drop and you leave for the night, or you leave go for lunch.
Right.
And the AI is going to start to scrape the right data from those, bucket those into the right categories, extract the right date information to ensure that we're then providing you the next compliance deadline for those. And then in the collaboration space is meant to not just be discussions, but also house documents as well. So let's say you want all of your participant communications that have gone out, whether it's about investment funds, whether it's just maybe financial wellness broadly, all of those can be housed in, NOAA Q or sorry, in the collaboration space as well.
Mm.
We say, in our marketing materials that you can have upwards of 5,000 documents, in your space. So, the more the merrier, because I'll use financial wellness as an example. Let's say you have a collaboration space for financial wellness. You house all of your participant communication documents on, what you've sent out to encourage greater usage of the plan. You can then use the query functionality to be like, hey, when's the last time we talked about auto escalation? I don't know, or something like that. And now you're getting that answer within a matter of seconds there. So onboarding simple and easy, like we schedule the call, white glove service, start to say, walk everyone through the main components of it. And then from just getting your documents on there, it's just again very simple as well. If it's a service provider,
Hmm.
purchasing bulk licenses, and then they have everything kind of in their own system, we'll build out an API to then easily transfer all of those documents or copy of those documents into the respective vaults for the clients of that provider too.
Oh, okay. So they don't have to go like client by client by
Yeah,
client.
correct. Yeah, we'll make
Nice.
it easy. Well, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
So what measurable improvements should a plan sponsor expect and how will those results be demonstrated?
I think the two things that I see that will be immediate is one, I think you'll have a better process in place because you're now using technology to kind of create that process. And as I mentioned a few questions ago, we're trying to solve for the stickiness.
Hmm.
So it will solve for the stickiness, just make things smoother, and then which leads to my second one, gives you time. Time to either improve your process or time to focus on other matters that are compliance related that you just haven't been able to devote to because you're too busy, you know, analyzing meeting minutes and other documents or doing other tasks that, take forever because you don't have a technological platform that gives you, more efficiency in that area. And then also you're able to do more time on what matters the most, which is encouraging your employees to save.
Hmm.
Whether it's encouraging them to actually start to save more, or giving them the tools that set them up for success down the road to be able to save some more financial wellness tools. So in the end, what we're trying to do is just create more time for you to do what is matters most. On the provider side, we kind of averaged out that you probably spend, let's say, the advisor spends 600 hours a year just on tasks that could be automated. And so we're basically freeing up time for you to spend more time on your current clients, um, on things that plan design related, things that are important to ensure that, the plan is being successful for the participants, or prospecting and finding new clients, as well.
Which plans are the best fit and how should sponsors weigh the price, the risk, and the time saved?
The price you're going to be shocked by. It is not. some huge price tag associated with it. I won't go into the details on there,
Right.
but we can. um, and for plan types, it's all the above. So actually, all of our kind of early users are small or large. We have, and there's a few medium-sized plans scattered in there as well too. But the small ones in particular, they're like, you know what? I've got a gazillion other things going on, because a small plan, most likely the person is maybe not even HR. They may not even have an HR department. This is like an admin or, a CFO or
Hmm.
somebody who has both finance duties and some HR functions and whatnot. So this is a way for like it's that small group of people, whether it's 4 or 5, that probably includes the president of the company, to just have a way to just keep everything organized. And then on the very large side, I think it's a lot of folks that have been sued or just don't want to
Mm.
get sued because they know that this is a great way to just ensure that there is one single place for all conversations, decisions, deliberations. And so if they get a suit again, or then having everything documented and be able to prove that process.
So what do you think about like the doctor's wife who's running the doctor's practice? Is this a good fit for her too?
Yeah. Because one, it's not for a plan of that size. It's, the cost is, not huge. And while there's not a huge risk of a lawsuit,
Right.
against a small type of plan, it is hopefully just a keeping things a little bit more organized, for them, so that maybe
Hmm.
maybe the plan is pretty simple, but there are some features and designs that alterations to that plan, or maybe a greater dive into the investment funds. And so this would hopefully open up those doors and allow them to do that.
So I want to switch gears for just a second. I want to talk more about PSCA. So which PSCA membership benefit do you think is most underused? Research, education, toolkit, roundtables, networking, or advocacy?
Research, I think, is the most under utilized from a member standpoint, and I'll say it on both sides. So, and both sides meaning the plan sponsor member and the service
Hmm.
provider member. On the plan sponsor member, I think a lot of folks don't recognize the amount of research that we have available to them. And then I still think there's a good chunk of our members who don't actually fill out the surveys. And if you fill out a survey, you get a free copy of the survey, which is a huge financial value.
Yep.
There is a time commitment associated with it, but I mean, man, that data is amazing to have. So being able to sit in a committee meeting and say, hey, well, we don't offer auto enrollments. What's the standard, out there, and being able for our plan size in particular, because we do break it out by plan size, plan participant numbers,
Hmm.
and being able to, find that within a matter of seconds, I think is very helpful. So that's, on the plan sponsor side. On the service provider side too, though, I think it's if you're a member, you get a discount for purchasing that survey. And I think, a lot more providers would benefit from, laying down a few dollars that it takes to purchase it, but also pushing it out to their clients too. So if
Hmm.
you're a provider that pushes it out to your clients, we'll give you a free copy of the survey. The 69th survey is actually still out in the field. And when I say that 69 years, I mean
Right.
that is a lot of data. But I think it also just goes to show that this is one of the, the number one. It's the best, survey out there for defined contribution plans. But we do have 403B survey. It's been around for about 15 years. We have a non-qualified survey that's launching soon. It's been around for over
Mm.
10 years. Really excited about the non-qual survey this year that we're launching for response, because we are offering kind of a segment in there for nonprofits. So there'll be a separate little area for nonprofits in the non-qual space. And then we have an HSA survey too. I think in the HSA one, I think it's still the only HSA survey that exists. If I hopefully I'm correct in that um, statement there.
Yeah, I know I make my practice manager fill out the survey every year so that we get a copy, but then we also push it out to all of our clients, just encouraging them because I think that the more data we have, the better we can advocate for our clients anyway. The area does so much good work advocating, and the more data we have, the better that advocacy can be. So we do push it out, and I think it is really important. I think one of the other things too, and I'm just going to toss this in here, which is underutilized, is the CPSP designation. And I'm going to let you tell everybody about that for a second, and then I'm going to say something else about it.
Yeah, no, Certified Plan Sponsor Professional Credential. It's our premier credential that we offer. It's free. You do not have to pay anything to go through the educational classrooms, whether it's self-study or it's a virtual classrooms that we offer throughout the year. It's a 5-week program. So it's $0 to sign up, $0 for going through it. The only time that there is any sort of monetary, dollar sign associated with it is if you do want to maintain the credential year over year. Currently, it's set at $180 a year to maintain it. But with that, you get membership into PSCA, and you get all of our webinars, our conferences, everything is free, including the membership. So there is no additional dollars associated with being a member of PSCA. I think if you have SHRM or HRCI, you should do PSCA because
Hmm.
if you do the CPSP, you get upwards of like 20 hours of SHRM or HRCI CE for free because our program is free. And then most of our webinars, our national conference, and everything are also SHRM or HRCI certified. So while you're doing CE to maintain our credential, you also are getting CE to maintain your SHRM or HRCI credential. And again, it's included in that $180 that you're paying for to maintain the CPSP credential. Um, Putting that aside, though, there's no other credential out there with respect to administering a defined contribution plan, 401k
Hmm.
or 403b. And it just, I think, is a really great, easy credential to, well, it's not easy, but credential to complete to kind of further your education in administering a retirement plan for your employees.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we had the opportunity to sponsor a class this year, along with the rest of the members of the Serato group, and I sent it out to all of my clients. It's just a benefit of, being a TriStar client. And then I also sent it out to all of my financial advisor partners and told them, obviously you can have your clients even if they're not a TriStar client. And we got such a huge positive response from all of our clients that took the time to sign up and take it. They loved it. They got a lot out of it. They learned a lot. And a lot of our clients are small employers who don't have an HR department. They are just, maybe they have somebody that's the, internal accountant. They're also running the plan. Everybody who did it loved it, said that they got so much out of it. They were so glad they did it, and so thankful that we offered it. It's a really great educational class and great designation. So,
No, yeah, I appreciate you all doing it. And we have some classes coming up as well that people can sign up for on
yeah.
the website. Yeah.
So, how do you think better governance free? How can better governance free sponsors and advisors to focus on participation, savings, and participant outcomes?
Well, I think, and we kind of covered it. It's NOAA powered by PSCA, but no, it's or there are plenty of solutions out there that can just keep you better organized, and then also use AI to extract data, provide some analytics based off your plan documents. Those are the type of resources that you are looking for. So anything out there that just is as technology evolves to make your life easier, you should research it, look into it. Make sure it's a trusted source though.
Mhm.
And not only from security parameters, but also from what sources is the AI using to provide responses. Those are the things that you need to be looking at.
Okay, so as we close, what should every plan sponsor do on Monday morning?
On Monday morning.
or this morning,
Yeah,
the first day of the
yeah,
week. Now
yeah.
that they've listened to you, what should they all
Yeah.
do first thing?
Well, I think first off, we talked a lot about Noah today. The website is noah.co, not .com. It's .co, noah.co. You'll see at the very top there where you can click to make sure that the website is specific to plan sponsors versus service providers. So they should take a look. And then also on that website, they can um, book a demo. And I should probably spell it out too. It's Knowa, Noah. Book a demo. Demo's 20 or 30 minutes. You just get a taste for it. And then at least you've done some due diligence there, and maybe you like it, maybe you don't, and go from there. Um, Second step is go to psca.org. So psca.org and check out the education tab and look at the CPSP credential, the Certified Plan Sponsor Professional credential. For any providers that are listening in, the CPSP credential is just for plan sponsors. Sorry, you have your own credentials that you can attain, but you know, um, even though the Serato group that Shannon mentioned sponsored a classroom, there is a financial commitment associated with that. If you're not up for doing that, you can at least just, make your clients aware of
Mhm.
this, free education that they can, use and attain this credential if they want to. So that's what I would recommend.
What final message do you have for sponsors and advisors who are working to strengthen America's retirement system?
Get a dog. They 80% of the time help to relax you, but 20% of the time are really bratty, like this one, who's been kind of guest appearing in my blurts. What was the question again? I'm sorry, but the
What's your final message
final.
for sponsors and advisors?
I think now is the time to really dig in on looking at technological tools that are out there. You need to find the right tools to automate processes. You don't want to make anything harder on yourself.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think there's a lot of people out there in our space who just don't want to use AI. They're just
Mhm.
like, nope, I don't want it. I don't want to use it. I don't see the need. And then I feel like a lot of those people, once they do use it, they're just like, wow, that's okay. But it's like there's value there, and they need to recognize that and dig in a little bit, and hopefully start to use those tools because what we should be focused on is ensuring everyone is saving for a secure
Mhm.
retirement. And in order to do that, there's just not enough hours in the day. So we need to find those technological tools to open up that time to focus on what is most important.
Totally agree. Yeah, I actually had Copilot create a slideshow for me in like under 3 minutes the other day, and I'm terrible at PowerPoint. So it was amazing what you can do and how much time you can free up.
Yeah.
So, Will, thank you so much for sharing your time and your insights and your perspective with us today. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Gap. If you believe that you have an innovative approach to closing the gaps in retirement savings for Americans and you would like to share your ideas, let me know. My contact information is in the show notes. And Will's contact information will be in the show notes as well as information on how to get a demo of Noah. So thank you very much, and we will see you next time.